The following is a production of Medfield TV.
Hello, I'm Gil Rodgers, Medfield resident and member of the Medfield State Hospital Master Plan Committee. And this is part of our ongoing program of Our Town, Our Land, Our Future. And today we have a special guest, Kevin Ryder, who's the Director of Parks and Recreation in Medfield. Kevin worked from 2008 to 2013 as a program coordinator for the Parks and Recreation program. He then took a leave of absence or an alternative job in Wellesley and was the program manager for programs in their recreation program. And then he returned to become the director of Parks and Recreation in Medfield. He's also a coach for Reebok CrossFit Medfield, and has been coaching adults and students in CrossFit since 2014. So for the last few years. So welcome. Thank you very much for coming to the this program. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate the welcome and quite an introduction. Thank you very much, Gil.
Okay, thanks. I thought that we would talk about four aspects of sports and recreation in Medfield, which has a huge amount of interest within parents and students. And the four would be to talk a little bit about the recreation and sports program here in Medfield. The second, to talk a little bit about what you observe as the potential, what the opportunities are for these programs here, based on information you've gotten, surveys, anecdotal information you've picked up. Third, to talk about the benefits that these programs have to students and parents. What value is it? So we get that across. And then finally, to talk about best practices, what you've learned as a result of experiences here in Medfield or in Wellesley, and to help us understand kind of how that might be applicable to the Medfield State Hospital property. So to start out, I'd like to just ask you, how'd you get interested in this, and kind of what value do you see, community recreation to you personally?
Part of my interest was in seeing kids develop and seeing one of the things we always talk about in our camps and programs that we do here in Medfield is sweats and smiles. And one of the things I love seeing is kids, when they sweat but smile, it means they're having fun, they're getting that energy out. And that's kind of been one of the leading things for me to be involved in recreation is the kids, getting them started early, healthy lifestyles, and that seems to always translate into bigger and better futures for the kids. The sports, the things they learn in sports early on and in programs, not just socially, but just values that they gain from that going on, being part of teams, seems to really translate into those future leaders that you see in America.
As a kid, did you find that for yourself? Did you play a lot of sports and find the value of that as you?
Absolutely. I played baseball as a catcher, and a catcher they talk about in baseball is kind of the quarterback of the baseball team. You kind of see everything out there in front of you. You kind of managing the game. Played a little bit of football, and just kind of the experiences you get, whether you're the star athlete or you're just a member of the team. Those experiences you get are invaluable, and like I said, translate from when you're a 12-year-old playing baseball to when you're 35 and then out in the real world, those same values that you learn translate right on through.
Now, we've done a number of surveys for the Master Planning Committee for the hospital, and of the top three things that people are interested in for the hospital grounds, recreation and sports comes out is one of the top three. Agriculture, housing, cultural come out high too. But why do you think recreation comes out so strongly in these multiple surveys that we've done? And I should say too that we've done this without consideration of cost, cost implications.
I think Medfield holds recreation very, very high in regard here. I think we've done a really good job in the Park and Recreation Department in being able to offer a number of different activities for babies up through senior citizens. And I think people in Medfield hold that very high in regard. But I also think recreationally wise, you see the success of the high school sports team, primarily lacrosse and hockey lately, but baseball and soccer and all the sports that the high school does, that translates down to the parents and the kids, and they want to see their kids become part of that tradition. And I think that they've been holding that in high regard for a very long time. We start offering programs like an introduction to lacrosse program for kindergartners. We sell out the program, and it's because of that interest that people have that the high school starts with. They see the kids going on to win state championships for the past few years, the high success rate that those kids have, the scholarships those kids get going into college. They start them at an early age, and the other part is the kids have fun doing it, and that's the most important part for anything we do is the fun aspect.
Let me ask you, you talk a lot about the growth and interest of the recreation spaces that are available in Medfield. What sporting activities do you find where you really can't satisfy as much interest and as much demand as there is because of the limitations in fields and coordinating, scheduling, that type of thing?
The big thing is we can't satisfy just about any needs for middle school students. That becomes kind of an area where we start to lose kids. I was at a seminar yesterday actually with other park and rec professionals, and we kind of talk about at what point do you lose kids in recreation programs, and it's starting to come earlier and earlier. One of the issues we have here in Medfield is space, and our space limitations with the FAF Center directly leads to our inability to reach certain kids. Out in our fields, we've had soccer teams practicing on the outfield of softball fields. We have a field hockey program that runs on the outfield of a softball field. So we've been making fields multi-use fields out of necessity more than out of the want. We don't want people playing soccer on the outfield of a softball field. Right. But because of the limited space that we have available for fields in Medfield and the amount of interest there is in getting on those fields, we try and do what we can to satisfy as much need as we possibly can. Right. And I think the other part that goes with that is the growing need, but also the how we've maintained those fields. And people call our fields around here some of the best, not just in this area, but the Metro West, eastern part of the state. And you go around and see some of the other playing fields. When teams come and play at our fields, they always comment on, this is an amazing field to be able to play on. And we hold that in high regard. All our fields that we maintain from Metacomet and McCarthy Park, that we want them to be the best playing fields that they ever can possibly be.
Now I've noticed, I have grandkids in the school system here, and they play, some of them play on some of these outside programs like John Smith Soccer, for example, or the Elite Baseball League, those things. So there seems to be quite a bit of interest and demand in their getting access to the fields, in addition to just the Medfield program.
I get contact. I just got contacted yesterday by another out-of-town program looking for field space, and we just don't have it. Our main concern first is our programs, but then the school programs, the in-town programs, and satisfying their needs. Lacrosse, for instance, has grown exponentially in their youth lacrosse programs. We could fill another field if we had another field just with lacrosse. And we try and get them in as much field space as we get creative, and sometimes in the ways that we have to do things. Right. Baseball has always been popular. Soccer is huge in this area, and we've been working with John Smith for the last few years with their programs, the number of Medfield kids they have playing, trying to satisfy some of their needs as well, on top of some of the other soccer partners that we have throughout the area that come in to run programs, camps, and activities that you think at some point you're not going to be able to satisfy that. There's going to be too much out there. But every time one of these programs runs, we get multiple people signing up. We get multiple interests from outside groups. It really goes to show exactly how well the sports is in this area, but the fields that we have that people want to get on as much as they can.
Kevin, do you think this has a lot of revenue potential? I mean, one of the things we're always looking at is fiscal responsibility, and the costs of putting on these programs. Now, the fact that there's so much demand for it, does that mean that there's actually a potential for creating more revenue for the town through this program, these programs?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, if we were able to get additional field space created, whether it be at the state hospital property or elsewhere in town, you would definitely see a financial impact from that as far as dollars coming in for people wanting to rent it. When you have fields that people want to be on and they see the quality of fields that we have now, they know going forward that any fields that we would build would be maintained in the same way as they are now. We'd be able to fill those without much issue, and it would definitely translate to financial windfall for the town.
Super. Let me shift to the third point that I was trying to cover, and that is what you see as the benefits to the kids and benefits to the parents in having organized programs like at Park and Rec or in the school system. What do you think kids get out of it, and what do you think their parents get out of it, not just as kids, but as their life, you know, experiences?
I think some of the kids get introduced to programs at Park and Rec very early. You know, we run programs, Mommy and Me programs for kids that are just walking. I think one of the things they develop is the social aspect. They become friends with kids. And you see, one of the things we always talk to parents about, especially parents that are new to town or that have a kindergartner and it's their first child coming into our camps and getting that social aspect where they get to meet kids and they become friends with these kids that outside their neighborhood, so kids that they don't normally get to relate to. So immediately it's the social aspect of that, and that's one of the major benefits of any type of programs for the little kids. The second is just being part of a team. You know, we run a pre-K and kinder soccer program on Saturday mornings. Routinely get hundreds of kids in each of those programs where we have just about all the kindergarten kids participate in the soccer. And as part of it is the social aspect. They get to be out in the soccer field with kids. It's their first organized activity where they have a coach that sometimes isn't mom or dad. It's a coach that they don't know sometimes. And it's with kids they don't know. They get their colored shirt and they feel part of the team. They're part of the purple team. They get very proud to wear that purple shirt. Right. One of the great things that we always see is around Medfield Day, when our fall program has just started, kids going to Medfield Day wearing their shirt from soccer, and you just see that parade of colors going through. For parents, it's parents in Medfield get that opportunity to meet other parents that they might not know. They get to meet the friends of their kids from school, from other programs that they might not have met before. And they get that opportunity to bond with other parents in town. And that's another aspect we see down at the fields, is parents becoming friends down at the fields because of the common theme of Park and Recreation. Yeah.
So it's part of the actual maturity, independence, self-esteem that students are gaining as they grow up, but the sports programs, these athletic programs, play an important role in that.
Absolutely, and the other part is even with our camps, we'll have parents drop off the kids for the first time, and their little son or daughter is clinging onto their legs. They don't want them mom or dad to leave. Mom and dad finally do leave for the day, and later in the morning they call and check in, and hey Kevin, how is Jimmy doing? I said, Jimmy hasn't asked for you once, and what happens is by the end of that week, that child is running into camp and leaving mom and dad at the door and running into camp to be with their friends, to be with the counselors that they've been making friends with, that they've been connecting with, and sometimes those counselors that they have become their babysitters, which is another fun thing to see, kind of evolve during those times.
Let me go to the fourth topic, because you spent 13 months in Wellesley as sort of a leave of absence, let's call it, from here, but you came back, which we appreciate very much.
Thank you.
What key messages or I don't know, experiences or practices did you see in Wellesley that have been helpful here that you can bring back to Medfield?
One of the things I've said in my time in Wellesley, I got to work with a great director there, and her name was Jan Cassetta. And one of the things I always said was that 13 months prepared me for what I'm doing now. And without that 13 months, I don't think I would be prepared as I was coming into this position as it would have been before. She gave us the opportunity to really grow as professionals, giving us a lot of say over a lot of things that I hadn't had that ability to have before, from budgets to running programs where it might fail, but failing is okay. Failing is part of succeeding at the end of the day, and just the enormity of the program that Wellesley has, because they have the ability to run it in a gym. They have a big playground and field space right outside the Warren building that they run the Park and Rec department out of. Just the ability to see it on a bigger scale, more financial performance coming in with programs, but also a bigger budget that they're dealing with and a bigger space that they're dealing with, and kind of just the opportunity to have in Wellesley, without a doubt, definitely prepared me for what I was able to do here in Medfield.
Let me ask you a little bit about kind of the future now. I mean, you've had these experiences, you've had 5 + 1 + 2 years of experience in this. How would you like to see the thing grow? What would you like to see the vision over the next few years for Parks and Rec and also for the whole sports programs in Medfield?
I definitely think, without a doubt, one of the key things I've been wanting to do in my time here before and my time since I've been back is a new recreation center. And the idea behind a new recreation center is the offering of more opportunities for kids. You know, if we had something that had basketball courts or indoor field space or indoor program space, the amount that we'd be able to offer to the families in Medfield beyond what we already do, we'd be able to reach that middle school group. We'd be able to offer jobs to that high school group that right now maybe don't have jobs in the school year. We hire so many kids during the summer for our swim pond at Hinckley and for our summer camps. That would be able to expand to 12 months a year now, where I'm not just looking for help for 2 months out of the year, but I'm looking for 12 months out of the year. The amount of programs we'd be able to help offer in coordination or in conjunction with the high school, where they need space during the winter time and the springtime when the weather's a little bad outside, to bring the baseball team or softball team or lacrosse team into practice. Being able to help out with the track team coming in. If there was ever an opportunity up at the state hospital to have a pool or an ice rink and the ability to be able to coordinate with the schools for that, these are sports that aren't necessarily growing, but have already grown in Medfield. And there would be a definite need for a lot of the space that we would be coming forward wanting to do with Park and Recreation.
Yeah. We haven't talked too much about the Medfield State Hospital, but obviously because this is part of this series, we're interested. But leaving aside just the Recreation Center, which I know is being addressed by the buildings group here, just leaving that aside, how else could you see using the hospital grounds, the sledding hill, the river, the canoe
Absolutely.
launch site for expansions of the program?
Having walked the state hospital property a number of times, it's a beautiful, beautiful site. And just that passive recreation, going up there and seeing a number of people walking their dogs or just going for walks with their families around the property, I mean, that's been a huge benefit for the people in town to be able to take advantage of that. Being able to do programs on the Charles River, being able to take a kayak or canoe out there and learn to paddleboard, learn to kayak, programs that are successful elsewhere that we'd be able to do here because of that, that great addition to adding the boat launch there.
Yeah.
Anytime you can get out on the Charles River, and the views that we have here at the State Hospital of the Charles are phenomenal. And any opportunity that we'd be able to take advantage of that would be awesome.
And it's a beautiful stretch of the river through there.
Huge, beautiful stretch of that river, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be really exciting to have, paddling, introducing kids to kayaking. And
not just kids, but adults too, that have
too.
never done it before, never had the opportunity to do it, and now you'd be able to offer that type of activity to adults right on down to kids and giving those people the opportunity to get on there. I think it would be a great expansion of some of the programs and offerings that we already do.
Let me go back to a point too that brings out too. How can you make Parks and Rec and sports programs applicable to all age groups, not just little kids, not just kids in grade school or up to, I don't know, grade 5 or 6, something like that, but expanded to all age groups, older kids, adults, seniors, in town?
One of the things we'd always love to do, and one of the things that we were able to do in Wellesley was offering pickup type basketball program for adults. One of the things I'm asked a lot of times by parents is, you guys do great things for my kids. My kids love coming to programs with Coach Kevin. They love coming to the soccer on Saturday. What about me? What can you do for me?
Right.
And the unfortunate thing is, with the lack of the space that we have available in Medfield because of the popularity of the programs at the schools with the sports teams there, our inability to be able to run an adult type program or even older kid program at the FAF Center, I'd love to have that opportunity to be able to say, Tuesday nights we're going to be able to do basketball at the rec center, or we're going to be able to do stand-up paddleboarding up at the Charles River. Anytime that you can incorporate, my idea or my goal for Park and Recreation is to be all-encompassing. We don't want to be looked at as we're just satisfying the need of fourth graders on down. We want to be going from the kids that are just walking all the way up to the senior citizens all the time, all inclusive, where we're hitting a lot of young kids, we're hitting some of the senior citizens with some of our fitness programs that we run, but we want to be all encompassing all throughout, and you know, being able to do that here in Medfield is one of it's my number one goal, to be able to make that happen here in Medfield, because I think the people in Medfield deserve it. They, you know, when we have new families move to town, and they come in and they introduce themselves and they're happy to be in Medfield, they just bought their new house, they love the school system, and they say, can you show me where the rec center is? And I take them out, I say, sure, let's go for a walk. I take them outside the FAP Center, I say, well, here you go. And kind of the expression on our faces, they're like, there should be more. And my goal for the future is to be able to bring that more to Medfield.
And in closing, and that's a very good statement, I think, of what you'd like to see. And in talking to parents or to government officials or school officials, is there any other point that you want to just emphasize about recreation and sports in Medfield?
Well, I think recreation and sports in Medfield is very popular, but it serves a big need for a lot of the kids growing up here in Medfield. I want to be able to have parents, families, kids be proud of the programs that they take here in Medfield. Not that they aren't now, but being able to say, well, I'm in fourth grade, so I'm no longer going to be taking park and rec programs. Or when a mom comes to me and says, it's so sad that Jimmy's not going to be able to come into any more programs at the FAP because he's too old. I want to have those kids, when they start, be growing up at a new recreation center or growing up on new playing fields in Medfield. And I think, you know, our goal being to bring that to the town. We want to be able to provide a park and rec program that people can be proud of, whether you're a 4-year-old or you're a 84-year-old, and we want that, be able to offer that for everybody as an all-inclusive type program.
Thank you very much. It's been very, very helpful, and I'm sure that people really will appreciate your comments and your views, because it is a very high priority in Medfield. And I'd like to also thank Medfield TV for putting on this series of programs. This is, I don't know, the 7th or 8th one I guess we've done, and we'll continue doing that. It's to bring issues that are important to the state hospital and keep people that are involved in it to the visibility and opportunity to talk about it. So thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next one.